3 people were killed, including a child, and several injured following Russian attacks on Ukraine's Kyiv overnight. The United States Senate has overwhelmingly approved a sweeping sanctions package targeting Russia's energy revenues. At least 3 people were killed, including a child, and several injured following Russian attacks on Kyiv overnight. Fires also erupted in 2 districts of the Ukrainian capital, according to local authorities. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine shared images on social media showing blazes ravaging what appear to be warehouses and garages. And a Russian drone strike on the Chernihiv region in northern Ukraine also sparked a fire at a warehouse. Moscow has significantly intensified its attacks on the Ukrainian capital in recent months, often by firing ballistic missiles that are difficult to intercept. On its end, Kyiv has retaliated with firing a record number of drones at Russia. The latest strikes come as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visits Serbia for his first official visit. Zelensky had dinner with his counterpart Alexander Vučić, who had repeated this week that he will not change his mind on sanctions on Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Belgrade on Friday to begin his first official trip to Serbia. Serbia is one of the few European countries that is still a close ally to Russia since its invasion of Ukraine. Zelensky was welcomed at the airport by Serbian Energy Minister Dubravka Đedović before having dinner with Serbian President Alexander Vučić. The visit comes as Serbia tries to balance its ties with Russia against pressure from the European Union to align with its foreign policy. Zelensky said Ukraine is committed to working constructively, mutually beneficially, and on the basis of mutual respect. On his end, Vučić said him and his counterpart would discuss cooperation in different levels, as well as their country's path towards EU membership. Serbia is in the process of joining the European Union, but the process has been stalled largely because of Belgrade's policies towards Russia.
On this vote,
the United States Senate has approved a major sanctions package targeting Russia's energy revenues. This includes Russian officials, oligarchs, financial institutions, and the so-called shadow fleet. The bipartisan legislation would allow U.S. President Donald Trump to set tariffs up to 500% on Russian imports, including oil and gas.
Every barrel of oil that goes unsold, every dollar denied the Kremlin, makes it harder for Russia to finance its reign of terror, which every night Ukrainians endure.
Russia has waged war against Ukraine for far too long, and this bill assists President Trump in his noble efforts to bring it to a close. This legislation was deeply important to my brother, Lindsey, and I am grateful that this bill has achieved such a wide coalition of support.
The legislation now heads to the House of Representatives, although a vote there will not take place until at least early September. If adopted into law, Russian President Vladimir Putin himself would be among those targeted by the sanctions, as well as other top officials.
A federal appeals court has ordered the Trump administration to hold all construction of its $400 million White House ballroom until it receives congressional approval. In a 2-1 decision, the court sided with historic preservationists who sued to stop construction of the massive structure, which has begun to rise above ground on the east side of the White House. The 8,400 square meter ballroom is being constructed where the White House's historic East Wing stood before Trump ordered its demolition last fall. The court said it would stay its ruling for 2 weeks to give the administration time to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. U.S. President Donald Trump lashed out after the ruling, calling it horrendous, politically motivated, and unlawful, and vowed to appeal the decision. Several of Trump's construction projects, including a proposed 76-meter-tall triumphal arch, have similarly faced legal challenges, but the ballroom project would be the first to reach the Supreme Court.